Invincible has come a long way since his first appearance on the show, but by season 3, he's not just surviving Viltrumites, he's starting to destroy them. He's faster, smarter, more ruthless, and finally starting to live up to his name. But how would this version of Invincible cope against Superman? Today, we'll find out. First, their origins, because origins shape everything. For Mark Grayson, his origin is no accident, no twist of fate, no radioactive spider, or experimental explosion. His story begins long before he ever donned a suit or even threw a punch. It begins in a distant world where strength is law and mercy is weakness. That world is Viltrum, a brutal advanced planet ruled by a species that considers itself the pinnacle of evolution, the Viltrumites.
By the time I was born, Viltrum was already the greatest empire in our galaxy. We decided to make it the only empire.
They look human, but they are anything but. With godlike strength, flight, enhanced healing, and virtual immortality, Viltrumites are bred for conquest, but their real power lies in their ideology. Centuries ago, they acted out the most horrifying form of this ideology, and that was slaughtering the weak among their own kind until only the strongest survived. Thousands died. What remained was a civilization that knew only war, domination, and the unshakable belief that it was their divine right to rule the universe. This is where Nolan Grayson comes in. He was a top enforcer of the Viltrum Empire. On Earth, he's known as Omni-Man, the greatest hero the world has ever known. But behind the charming smile and perfect jawline is a conqueror sent to weaken the planet from within. His mission was to gain the trust of the planet and learn its weakness, then prepare for joining the Viltrumite Empire. And he did just that. Decades passed. Nolan embedded himself into human society. He took a job as a travel writer, settled out in the suburbs, and fell in love with a human woman, Debbie.
Mark,
Strike one!
you and I, we made him. This is humanity.
Their union was more than a disguise. It became a complication, because when Mark Grayson, their son, was born, something unexpected happened. It was the beginning of the end of the universe as Nolan knew it. Mark was different. He was half human, half Viltrumite, a hybrid born of two worlds. For years, he showed no signs of power. He was a normal kid in high school, a little awkward, a little sweet, and a little nerdy, obsessed with comics and unsure of who he was. But that normalcy was temporary, because Mark wasn't made to live an ordinary life. His DNA was warforged, and eventually, it woke up. It happened behind a burger joint. One day, as Mark took out the trash at his part-time job, a bag of garbage rocketed into the sky, thrown with a force he didn't know he possessed. That was the moment. His powers had arrived, and everything that came with it. Flight, strength, and insane durability. The Viltrumite side of him had finally activated. He was no longer just Mark. He was becoming something more. He was becoming... Nolan saw it immediately, and his training began soon after. He taught Mark how to control his strength, how to fly, how to fight. But there was always something beneath the surface. An intensity, a pressure, a weight that Mark couldn't quite place. His father's lessons weren't just about becoming a hero, they were about becoming something greater.
I pushed him pretty far. It's what he needs.
Did you maybe push too far?
Are you questioning me?
Nolan believed Mark was destined to be more than just a protector. He was to be a ruler. But Mark wasn't raised on Viltrum. He was raised on Earth. He loved humanity with all its messiness, its failures, and its heart. He believed in justice, in compassion, in second chances. While his powers connected him to Viltrum, his morals were undeniably human. This internal conflict, this war between blood and belief, would define his coming of age. And then the truth came out. When the Viltrumite Empire deemed Earth ripe for conquest, Nolan revealed his true nature. In a moment that shattered everything Mark had ever known, his father slaughtered the Guardians of the Globe, the planet's greatest heroes, and then finally exposed his mission to his son. Earth was weak, he said. The people were fragile. Empathy was a flaw. He begged Mark to join him to help liberate the planet and prepare it for Viltrumite rule. But Mark refused. And so father and son clashed in one of the most brutal battles ever waged. Cities crumbled in their wake. Mountains cracked. The planet trembled. But worse than the physical destruction was the emotional one. Every punch was a betrayal. Every blow tore at Mark's identity. He wasn't just fighting to stop his father, he was fighting for the right to be himself. Despite being outmatched, despite taking blow after bone-shattering blow, Mark never gave up. He begged his father to stop, to see Earth not as a target, but as a home. He reminded him of the love they shared, the life they built, and in a single moment, while standing over his broken, bloodied son, Nolan hesitated. A flicker of doubt, of pain, of love cracked the Viltrumite armor. He fled.
What will you have after 500 years?
I still have you.
That day changed everything. Mark didn't win the fight, but he won something more powerful. He won the moral high ground. He chose humanity, he chose compassion, he chose Earth. From that moment forward, Mark embraced his identity as invincible. He wasn't just a boy with powers. He wasn't just the son of Omni-Man, he was the protector of a planet his father tried to destroy. A bridge between two pieces. A hero forged not by accident, but by choice. But the shadow of Viltrum never vanished. The Empire still loomed. The blood in his veins still carried its legacy. And every battle, every choice, every loss reminded Mark that being invincible didn't mean being unbreakable. It meant refusing to stay down. His origin isn't just about power. It's about the responsibility of power. It's not about gaining abilities, but surviving them. Carrying the weight of a past he didn't choose and using it to forge a future he believes in. And this is what he embodies. Mark Grayson is invincible not because he can't be hurt, he's invincible because he never gives up. Now let's look at Superman. Superman, otherwise known as Kal-El's origin story, begins not with power, not with war, but with loss. He was born on Krypton, a world of science, intellect, and grandeur. A planet so advanced, its people forgot humility. Krypton was doomed, not by enemies, not by war, but by arrogance. Warnings of planetary collapse were ignored. And when end came, it came with fire and silence. In the face of that catastrophe, two people chose love over despair. Jor-El and Lara, Krypton's greatest minds. They had only minutes left, but in those final breaths, they made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. They placed their only son, Kal-El, into a tiny ship barely large enough for a child, and launched it toward a distant, yellow-sunned world called Earth. It wasn't just an escape, it was a hope.
He'll be an outcast, a freak. They'll kill him.
How? He'll be a god to them.
He arrived in America, landing in the fields of Smallville, Kansas, where he was found by Jonathan and Martha Kent. They were humble, hardworking farmers with loving hands and open hearts. They named him Clark and raised him as their own. They taught him that values mattered more than abilities, that being good was more important than being great. But Clark Kent was not ordinary. Under Earth's yellow sun, something impossible began to happen. His alien physiology transformed him. The light itself awakened something divine in his cells. His strength grew. He could fly. He could see through walls. Bullets bounced off him. Fire couldn't touch him. His mind processed faster than the most advanced computers. He could hear a whisper from miles away, breath in space, and move at the speed of light. He became a god in a world of mortals. But what makes Superman the symbol that he is, isn't what he can do. It's what he chooses not to do. He could rule. He could conquer. He could bend the world to his will with a glance. He is Omni-Man on steroids. But he doesn't, because Clark Kent was raised with the greatest gift Krypton never knew: humanity. His parents didn't train him to dominate. They taught him to care, to listen, to help, and to serve. They showed him that strength means nothing without compassion, that power is a burden, not a privilege. While other heroes were shaped by vengeance or violence, Superman was shaped by love. He wasn't made for war, he was made to be better. He wears the S not as a symbol of status, but as a symbol of hope.
The symbol of the House of El means hope. That's what you can bring them.
It's not a weapon, it's a promise. Because to him, the real power isn't in lifting buildings or stopping bullets. It's to inspire others, in making people believe they can be better too, that the impossible can be achieved, that justice is not just an idea, it's a responsibility. And yet, for all his power, Superman lives with a quiet loneliness. He is the last son of a dead world, the only living Kryptonian for much of his life. He looks human, he sounds human, he loves humans, but he will always be alien. There are no more like him, no Kryptonian festivals, no shared language of his youth, no memories of his mother's lullaby or his father's voice, just silence where a culture used to be. But rather than retreat into grief, Superman turns that pain into purpose. He chooses to belong. He becomes a journalist, not to chase fame, but to stay close to humanity's heartbeat, to understand its fears, its joys, its stories. He walks among us, not above us. And in doing so, he learns every day how fragile, how miraculous, and how worth protecting life really is. His greatest enemies often mistake his restraint for weakness. They see his mercy as a flaw, but they don't understand the truth. His strength is not an advantage. It's a limit. Because when you're Superman, you can't afford to lose control. You can't fight with rage. You don't get to be careless. Every battle is a calculation. Every step is measured. Every punch is pulled. He operates under a pressure no one else can comprehend. A single mistake could flatten a city. A second of selfishness could cost millions of lives. And still, he shows up. Every day, he chooses to be the best of us. Not because he has to, not because he was programmed to, but because he believes in us. That's what makes Superman truly invincible. Not the lasers, not the strength, not the flight, but the hope. The unshakable, impossible belief that this world, flawed as it is, can rise. That people can change. That goodness matters. He's not a savior from above. He's a man trying to live up to legacies. The wisdom of Krypton and the heart of Kansas. Kal-El may be the last son of Krypton, but Superman? Superman is Earth's son now, and he's chosen to carry out burdens, to reflect our potential, and to remind us that hope, no matter how buried, always rises.
We, as a population on this planet, have been looking for a savior. 90% of people believe in a higher power.
And that's where Invincible's belief system comes together with this. The unshakable belief in humanity. But what happens when they are pitted against each other? Now, growth matters, especially in Invincible's case, and he has grown. Season 1 Mark was a rookie, a kid thrown into battles he wasn't ready for. His dad nearly beat him to death and made him watch as thousands died. He got stomped by Battle Beast and traumatized at every turn. He had raw power, but no control. Bravery? Sure, but that wasn't enough. By Season 2, we saw Mark evolve. He's smarter, he's faster, he starts thinking like a fighter, not just swinging wildly. He pushes through fear and through failure, and the beatings keep coming, but he starts giving them back. It was also the first time he let his rage take control, killing Angstrom Levy in the process. Now, Season 3 Invincible, this Mark is different. He's been through galactic wars, he's fought Viltrumite elites, held his own against Lucan, and he's made choices his father would hesitate to make. He's not just fighting anymore, he's commanding. He's learning control, precision, and restraint. His regeneration has improved. His flight, second nature. Strength? He's finally getting close to Omni-Man, and he's starting to understand his place in the Viltrumite hierarchy. He's not a pawn, he's a threat. But there's a problem. His opponents isn't just another powerful alien, it's Superman, the blueprint, the benchmark, the beginning and the end of the superhero scale. You don't just match Superman with strength. You don't just outpunch him. You outlast a legacy that spans galaxies. Because let's be honest, even at his peak, Season 3 Invincible is playing in the minor leagues. Superman's been in the major leagues since birth. Because when it comes to raw power, it's not even close. Mark Grayson can punch through concrete bunkers. He can take hits from Viltrumites strong enough to crack moons. And he is fast. He can fly through the atmosphere across continents in seconds. But Superman? He bench presses planets, literally, for 5 days straight. He had an Earth mass stimulator that he held near the sun for that long. He's flown fast enough to outrun death itself because he can go to Flash tier speeds. His heat vision? That can cut through celestial armor. His ice breath is strong enough to extinguish stars.
Not impressed.
You know how Invincible struggles against the Mauler twins? Superman can breathe and that entire mountain they're hiding in collapses. There can be no comparison between their strengths. Mark gets tired after fighting Thrag for a few minutes. Superman has gone toe-to-toe with Darkseid, Doomsday, and Shazam all at once and kept going. This isn't a difference in level, it's a difference in scale. Now, Mark's durability has grown. He survives orbital re-entry. He tanks punches that would obliterate tanks. When Conquest crushed his skull, he lived. He can regenerate slowly, but steadily. He's hard to kill. But Superman can tank hits from gods. He has survived a supernova. He has taken a blast from Darkseid's Omega beams and smiled. He has withstood black hole level gravity and has shrugged off nukes like they were mosquito bites. Mark heals from damage. Superman barely gets damaged. Their combat style is where it gets interesting. Mark fights like a Viltrumite. Head first, brutal and emotional. He has improved. He maneuvers, redirects, and uses the environment. But he's still very reactive. You hit him hard, he hits back harder. He's getting smarter, but he's not a tactician yet.
See, more than enough.
Not enough.
Superman? He's trained with Batman, Wonder Woman, and the Justice League. He's a calculated striker. He knows how to end fights quickly, not just win them. And if things get out of control, he holds back less than people realize. You might think Mark's raw savage nature gives him an edge, but Superman doesn't just fight. He does precision strikes with light speed and planet-breaking power behind every hit. Even in what they share, there is no competition. Mark has one of the hardest wills in modern superhero fiction. He fights when he knows he'll lose. He fights when he wants to give up. When Conquest nearly killed him, he got back up. When Omni-Man tore the planet apart, he chose mercy. That will is Viltrumite steel plus human compassion. But Superman has watched worlds die and kept hope alive. He's been mind controlled, tortured, turned into a god, made mortal, and never once stopped being Superman. His restraint is not weakness, it's control. He holds back every second to keep the planet safe. If his full will is unleashed, that's when entire timelines collapse. Mark has willpower. Superman is willpower. So let's imagine it. Let's say it's Earth. No prep, just the two of them. Mark doesn't wait and he flies in. The ground shatters behind him. He's ready. Superman stands calmly. No fear and no rage, just focus. Mark strikes first and he goes at it with a full speed punch. Superman doesn't move. Then, a blur. One punch from Superman. Mark flies into the sky, into orbit, through the moon. But this is Invincible. He comes back bleeding and angry. He fights with every ounce of will he has. But Superman, he adapts. He blocks faster, hits harder. Mark grabs his cape and Superman will turn and knock the breath from his lungs. And with one final hit, he ends it. Not fatally, just definitively. Because Superman doesn't kill unless he must. And Mark isn't an enemy. He's a soldier learning his place. But what if Mark kept evolving? Let's say Mark gets stronger and faster. Let's say he even surpasses Omni-Man. Maybe one day he reaches Thrag level. He gets smarter, starts fighting tactically, and gains decades of combat experience. Could he eventually rival Superman? Maybe. Even through it all, it ends with a maybe. If he trains for centuries, gets cosmic artifacts, and evolves past Viltrumite biology, he could one day end a fight in a stalemate. Because even with everything that Invincible can do, Superman's been doing that since the 1930s. In the end, Season 3 Invincible versus Superman? No. Invincible doesn't win. Not yet, at least. If you like this breakdown, check out the full analysis of would Invincible win every fight he has lost so far.